the star of Politically Incorrect, Bill Maher.
Thank you very much. All right, let's meet our panel on this exceptional news day. One of the fine stars of ER. Oh, yes, Thursdays at 10 on another network. What network is ER on? We couldn't figure it out. Laura Innes, right over here. Hey, how are you?
How are you doing?
Okay. He is a nationally syndicated radio talk show host who hits K70 KIEV beginning at Kiev. Next Monday, Dennis Prager. Dennis.
Thank you.
I can spell Kiev.
Yeah, that's good.
You're not broadcasting out of the Ukraine, are you? Okay. He's a big-time TV star, song and dance man, and the writer-director of the new movie Just Looking in theaters everywhere, Jason Alexander. That is Jason Alexander. How are you? And a phenomenal singer-songwriter. Her new CD is Joy Holiday Collection, and her poems and photos are in the new book, Chasing Down the Dawn. Jewel! Glad to have you here. Thank you very much. All right. Well, I feel good because I'm one of those guys who goes to bed late, so I got to see Dan Rather acting goofy all night. He looked like Jerry Lewis in the 23rd hour of the telethon. If you haven't seen this, get it taped. Anyway, this morning I woke up to hear Bush say that he is sending James Baker down to Florida. He said, we want an impartial person. My father's Secretary of State. My brother runs the state. And we're sending the Republican elephant also to make sure it's just on the up and up.
Well, you know...
Well, okay.
The Democrats are sending 50 lawyers. I just want to say
Yeah.
that.
Well, they send that to go to the bathroom.
That's true.
I like how they, I also heard Bush say they were sending somebody with a perfect record.
Yeah, perfect record, yeah.
Wasn't Bush like arrested 3 times, so a perfect record is something he never gets to go for himself?
Bush has been... Yes. And I have been getting faxes, I have been getting letters, I've been getting emails, which I get on my desk because I'm not on the internet, telephone calls blaming me because I voted for Nader. I personally am going to make sure that women can't get an abortion next week. That's what it comes down to. That's the calls I'm getting. Let me tell you.
You'll be responsible for them needing an abortion.
Let me tell you. Last night, when they took Florida away from Gore, I checked to see if the condom was on.
There you go.
I'm kidding. It's just a joke. It's a bad joke. But I don't apologize for voting for Ralph Nader. He's the only candidate that didn't make me cringe, okay? Also, if Gore, who ran on a saving Social Security platform, couldn't win Florida or his home state,
It's a bad sign.
That's a bad
sign.
Look, I hate this guy, Bush, but you know what? People like him.
I like him.
Do you like him?
Yeah. Why don't you like him?
Because a little humility about not paying your dues would be nice.
Plus, I mean, he was an alcoholic till he was 40.
What's that?
He was an alcoholic till he was 40, right? I mean, that isn't like...
He was
arrested
drunk
3
until
times.
he was 40.
Yeah, but let me... Hey,
For hotel theft. I mean, that has to be more than an ashtray.
Yeah, why do
Poor
you
guy.
like George Bush? That would be
I'll tell
more...
you, no, seriously.
Seriously,
In all
because
ser-
as
no,
far as
not
I
at all.
can
There are a
tell...
lot of goofy Republicans.
As far as I can tell, he has very little experience. He's accomplished very little in his life on his own.
He's a baby.
He doesn't believe in the things that I believe in, and I see no reason that he should be representing us to the world.
Well, let me
it's
answer-
very sad.
Okay, bye. Wow, it's easier to do a talk show because when they boo you, you don't hear it. Well, knowing that everyone is behind me on this particular answer, let me, very, very briefly, I like the fact that he is real. I believe...
Real.
Sorry.
Lying is a very real
I'm sorry, the guy strikes me as being an authentic. This is what I am. He is centered, as opposed to, with all respect, and I do respect Mr. Gore, you don't know who he will be in any given month. He hires a woman to tell him how to be an alpha male. I mean, you know. No, the problem is not that it was a woman, it's the problem.
I think actually, if you want to know who Al Gore is by his personality, you may have some trouble finding it, but I think you can find out exactly who is by looking at his record, which you cannot do with George Bush.
Absolutely.
The problem with George Bush for me...
Why? He has a record as a governor.
And it stinks.
I know.
If it stinks, why did he have a landslide victory yesterday
Because
in Texas?
Gore ran a crappy campaign and didn't point that out.
He pointed it out all the time. No health care, people are suffering in Texas, worst education record.
I think that Gore wins in Texas, and I think Gore wins in a lot of places because...
You mean Bush?
I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry, Bush. I don't know George Bush. I do not know him.
Me neither.
He seems like a fine guy. He seems like a guy that a lot of people in this country wouldn't mind having as a pal, watching a football game, cracking a beer with.
Yeah.
My problem... My problem with George Bush, I don't agree with his agenda, but even if I did agree with his agenda, I used to say to my friends that were backing Bush, I go, okay, forget the agenda. Is he the guy you look at and go, that's my man. I want him pushing that agenda in Washington. If he was brilliant but lazy, I'd go, maybe. If he was ignorant but a hard worker, I'd go, maybe. But he ain't brilliant. And he doesn't seem to be a hard worker. So,
I got to take a commercial here. As of 8 o'clock East Coast time, which we're taping this at that time, there is still no winner. There is a state of confusion and not knowing in America. So I guess the Bush era has begun. Now, today they say both candidates are really feeling the pressure. Gore, they say, has been very testy with his staff. And at one point, Bush broke down and yelled at his parents, "You promised!" All right. So as of this hour, as the networks say, as of this hour, we still don't know who the president is because the absentee ballots have to come in from Florida. And I have, by the way, full confidence in Florida's voting machines. Considering
if you can find them.
Considering that they put people to death with an electric chair called Old Sparky. So, you know, Florida, okay. But they say that Bush is going to win because the absentee ballots are from military people overseas. And this sticks in my craw. I said this last week on the show. I'm going to repeat it. It bothers me to no end that the military backs Bush over Gore. Bush is a draft dodger just like Clinton was. They can't stand Clinton because he dodged the draft, but Bush did the same thing. And Al Gore was one of 12 kids out of a class of 1,100 at Harvard who went to Vietnam. And I know he wasn't Audie Murphy over there, but you know, he was in country. That means something, and military guys know that. When you're actually in Vietnam, it stinks. It's a lot different than being in Texas.
Well, but that's not draft dodging. It's still not draft dodging. That's not fair.
It is draft. He was a total draft dodger.
No. Mr. Clinton went to another country, and Mr. Clinton was, and I'm not saying he was wrong, he was against the war, and that's fair enough. But I don't think that it's analogous. In any event, how do you then figure that? You think the people in the military are goofy? What do you think it is? If this is a puzzle to you, how do you rationalize it?
But I also think it's a misrepresentation to say that Gore and Lieberman are soft on defense. They're certainly not.
Right.
They have a huge defense budget proposed and huge salary increases for the military, and I think it's a perception problem. I mean, I think the perception is that Gore is softer, but the reality is he's quite hawkish, as is Lieberman.
How do you folks explain the military's perception?
If you're going to speak in large generalities, I don't think they're pro-Bush. I think the Republican Party on whole is more supportive of getting away from gun control and getting out of people's lives, and people that join the military are more likely to vote along those lines. What's fascinating to me is that if you listen to what they want to do, Bush wants to spend $180 billion on a cross-your-finger system to put a thing in the air that's going to shoot down missiles.
Right.
If that's where your defense money is going, where the hell are these soldiers getting their paycheck from?
Yeah, well,
If I was in the military, I'd rather be going with the Democrats who are going to go, well, we want to make sure that the Army stands, and that we may not want to grow it, but we want to shore it up. This guy wants to put soldiers in
well,
space.
how do you explain Norman Schwarzkopf appearing at the last rally? Colin Powell going to be a member of the
That's
Bush
where
administration?
their jobs are coming from in the next administration. They work for his father. What do you mean? How do you
all right.
explain
So
it?
the guys in the military don't know who to choose. They're foolish. Schwarzkopf and Powell are basically selling their souls for a job. I don't buy that. I think these people perceive something in Bush.
Yeah, what do you, exactly.
Here in Hollywood. But
Oh, in
not
Hollywood,
necessarily-
right. Washington.
Wait,
No, not Washington. That's the military. They do.
I once heard that, wasn't politics, who said it? Politics is the Hollywood for ugly people.
Yeah, Paul Begala.
Same thing, and the closer I am to it, the more I think it's true.
Right.
But I do think there's a broad strokes perception that Bush and the Republicans are more patriotic than the Democrats.
Right.
And I think that's a misnomer, and I'm offended by that.
Let me ask you a question. Who do you think, no, and this is not meant in any way derogatorily. I do this on my radio show every July 4th. Call me up if you happen to be showing the flag. And then I ask them what party they're affiliated with. And overwhelmingly, it is more likely that a Republican in Los Angeles will be showing the flag than a Democrat.
And because you show your flag, are you inherently more patriotic?
No, not inherently more, but it's
showing
symbolic.
the Confederate flag at the same time.
Good line. That's a good line.
But you know what?
It's not true, but it's a good line.
As well as their favorite football team's jersey on that day.
It's a sign of limited thinking.
To show the flag is
Wait a
limited
second, not to
thinking?
show the flag, but to think the flag is more important than the ideas behind the flag.
Who said it's more important?
The people who are against burning a flag, the people who want to make that a big law, okay? Instead
I
of
happen-
realizing that you live in a country where you can burn the flag, that's really patriotic. Yeah, flag wavers.
Dennis, can we get you a coffee or anything just to make you more comfortable?
Would you please? Yeah, not a coffee. I'm already,
And Lieberman has
so
some locks.
sedative.
Lieberman has locks, exactly.
All right, well, we've ground to a halt. We'll take a break.
Join us tomorrow when our guest will be from Malcolm in the Middle, Bryan Cranston, Emmy-winning actress Alfre Woodard, California Representative Dina Rohrabacher, and actress Natasha Henstridge.
I actually feel a little sorry for Bush. There was a moment when it was all but official that he was going to be our next president. In fact, Gore had already made the congratulatory phone call to him, and Bush had already crapped his pants. So... All right. Now... They like that. They like the crap pants.
Yeah, well.
Speaking of crapping pants, now, it's not confirmed yet, of course, that Bush is going to win this, but it looks like he's going to win this. Even if he doesn't, he came this darn close to a vice president who had so much going for him. Bill Clinton could have beat this guy with his penis tied behind his back. And I think Gore's big mistake was that instead of embracing Bill Clinton and his record and running as a continuation campaign, this is a continuation, he broke from Bill Clinton.
I think the reason that Gore lost this election was because of what Bill Clinton did in the White House. And the taint of that, because I really believe that, because I think it was a gut reaction from people in the Middle West and the South who said, you know what, I don't want that. I'm uncomfortable with that. It doesn't represent me, and I want to separate myself from that, and I'm going to vote for my gut, even if we voted Democratic in the last 4 elections. I
Cheating
want
on
it
their
now.
wives is no new theme. Is the Midwest
People
just
don't
don't
like
like
it,
people
and
talking about
that's
it?
different than what
Everybody knows every
happened.
other president has done it.
Here's the
That's
proof.
not
I think
true.
there is a proof. He was way behind in the polls, Mr. Gore, and then chose Senator Lieberman, who was the only Democrat to vociferously criticize the president. His poll ratings shot up and never went much down. I can't think of a better proof that he made the right decision.
But I think he could have done that.
But he lost,
And still,
probably.
I think
have
despite what
accentuated the
everybody
light
is saying, and I think it is true, that people do not like what Bill Clinton did. It was a taint and it was a blemish. But I got to tell you, in my travels in the country,
In fact, he
you
has a-
cannot like what he did, but people still kind of like him.
I
They
agree.
believe that there is a real, heartfelt, caring man there. And for Gore to not say, I don't like what he did either, but I was 50% of a team that built this economy and built our place in the world right now, and I'm proud of that work, and I am the man to continue it.
He did
He
say
could have
that.
made that
No,
time.
he didn't.
He did, but there was...
what
But
makes
not-
me
that
angry-
was not the thrust of the campaign.
But I felt like Bill Clinton, there was a lapse with him, too. I felt like he never stood up to the plate and said, hey, you know what, you guys, listen to me. I didn't made a mistake, but this man is not me on a personal
Well, why
level.
didn't he
Neither
do
one
that?
of them
Because the
didn't do
Gore
it.
campaign didn't let him do that.
But they're not
Not
stupid. They
initially.
weren't foolish. I mean, they were right. Look, that's why I gave you the Lieberman analogy. There really was, believe it or not, outside of L.A. and New York, a Clinton fatigue in the country. And not
But
just
he
because
is
of the
not
one
Clinton.
error.
He was not holding Monica's hair
Right.
during the...
Absolutely.
I think you're right. Wait a second. If Bill Clinton had come on, and he's made certainly a number of, in the last, in the last 2 years, heartfelt, lip-biting, apologetic statements, it wouldn't have been so much if the Gore campaign said, look, Bill, could you come on and just say, you know what, I made my mistakes. No,
But, you know, this is an
I'm a
interesting-
sinner, but don't hold my man Al responsible. He wasn't there for that.
But it's interesting to see what...
You don't think that would have, there wouldn't have been a dry eye in the house?
I agree. I agree.
But it's interesting to see, why is it such a close race? I mean, what the American public is responding to is very bizarre to me. I'm looking at political record. I'm looking at somebody who's dedicated his entire life without near flaw. I mean, immaculately, dedicated his life to serving this country and doing an incredibly good job. He has a great record. Versus somebody, and he's awkward. He's awkward in front of the camera. He's awkward with people. He doesn't speak well. I'm not looking for somebody to be homecoming queen, though.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm looking for somebody to be a politician.
Well-
I think
But
what the
that's
American
why I
public
feel
is
like
looking
people-
for...
Why is it...
People like Bush because he's more charismatic. He's kind of better looking. Sorry, Gore.
He's Clinton. He's a good old boy who likes to drink and have fun.
And I think people are comfortable with that.
He doesn't drink at all.
Gore's
Yeah.
message is not a popular message. His message is, I'm not giving you your money back. I'm going to spend it on what I think it needs, and I'm going to push you into things that you don't want to give up, and I'm going to push you to realize the challenges of this next century.
I don't agree
No,
with
you
that.
know what,
that
though?
wasn't his
But I feel like people
no,
bought
people-
that.
Message us, we're going to give you more, we're going to give you prescription drugs, patient's
yeah.
bill of rights, we're going to give you whatever you want, we're going to target cracks credits. It's all we'll give you. I will work for you, I will fight for you, I will be there for you. That's why I am convinced single women are the single greatest block of Gore voters, because he came across as, I will protect you, I will give to you. I'm a surrogate husband. I am offering...
So that's what, whoa.
That-
So
that
that's
is-
what what women and single women are looking for from their president and their society. That somebody
Otherwise,
say,
there's
I'm
no
gonna
other
give
way.
everything to you
There's
and
no other
protect
way to
you.
Well,
explain the enormous gap between married women and single women in the way they vote.
Right. I mean, that I agree with him on that one.
Yeah, but the,
Women-
No, but I think it's
the
also why they appeal to
connotation is
blacks
that
more
there's
and minorities more. Same as single women, the people that need help,
Yes.
that need prescription drugs, that
validly
need help.
need help and validly need
Yeah.
support from a government that's overwhelmingly wealthy white males, and we're perpetuating
No,
that.
that's with all respect. That is what Bush said was, what was the word? It was something like a compassionate discrimination.
The soft bigotry?
Soft bigotry. That's exactly what it is.
It's soft bigotry.
The greatest help for minorities in America would be right now, folks, we need a values change. A black professor at Berkeley just wrote a book and said, you know what the biggest problem in black life is? Kids grow up to think we can't act like Whitey, and Whitey studies very hard, so we won't. That is a bigger problem than all the discrimination or racism
But you
in
know
this
what?
country.
Health doesn't hurt. I don't think hardly any Republican that I know, including Bush, was ever homeless, was ever in need of prescription health. Whereas other people that the Democrats are appealing to have. I almost died because of a kidney infection because I couldn't afford medication. And I think if you're out of touch with that, you don't realize how important that is to people, and that's why...
Well, Mr. Gore was never in touch with that. He was well controlled.
But he understands the need.
I looked at that flashing red and blue map last
Yeah.
night, and I went, it's so interesting to me, and this is what I made of it.
Right.
The power center of this country is on the edges. The meat and potatoes of
Yeah.
this country is in the middle.
Literally.
The power people go, we got to help those people in the middle. We got to take care of them. The people in the middle go, just give us the money and don't take care of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly, what you're saying. And both are right in their belief. It's just that the answer is somewhere in the middle. And the problem with this whole election, and why I do not jump up your nose for Ralph Nader, is because the only viable answer is going to be some sort of third-party voice that rises out
But
of all
what about
this.
Nader? That's like escapism in voting. It's not a viable choice.
It
You
might
can
be
choose.
next time.
It
You have to start
absolutely might.
somewhere.
And if he
Yeah, but all
doesn't
of
go
those-
for it,
Take a
it will never
commercial.
be.
I'm sorry. We'll be right back. All right, whoever is president, the business of selling books and records goes on. Jewel has one of each. Tomorrow, Brian Cranston, Alfre Woodard, Representative Dana Rohrabacher, and Natasha Henstridge.
Our first guest tonight is